brought to you by Knights of Awakening. This is the Labyrinth. Today, I want to first thank you for joining us and giving us some of your time. And let's barrel roll right into this. Someone asked a question on one of the groups I belong to about mixing magic, specifically left-hand path demonic practices and black magic with right-hand path ceremonial high magic. And I want to talk about that today. I didn't get a chance to get their permission to quote them word for word in their question, so I'm not going to, because I feel that's important to do. But I am going to hit on the topic that they were asking about. The ceremonial magic, or right-hand path methods, as some people call them, are very complex. They have a lot of symbology, they have a lot of tables and correspondences, and your black magics tend to be less so. And part of that has to do with modernization. A lot of these methods are new, like newer than the older magic methods available. And the reason for that is that there was a bigger push against these methods at a certain point in time. Back when the church was the primary power in the world, if you were caught with teachings on magic, they better be referencing God and the angels and so on and so forth. So the bulk of our material, considering that at one point our mythos was so inherently Christian and Judaic, Jewish faiths and things of that nature, or Abrahamic faiths of some kind, because that was the de facto, a lot of these magics come from that kind of ethical background, and anything outside of that is considered unethical. Even your Solomonic magic really has a lot more to do with, evoking 1,000 angry angels to beat up one demon to get that demon to do what you want it to. That's your right-hand path traditions. That's where a lot of this comes from. And more modern takes on this have had to change things around a bit. So the origin of your right-hand path traditions is Abrahamic. And there's a lot of intricacies because there's a huge mythology which has been preserved on the Abrahamic traditions. There are lists and tables of angels and proper names and calls, and because it was so popular for so long, this is where people are drawing their resources from. It's what's available. And a lot of these correspondences go back to Greek correspondences for those forms of magic. So your ceremonial high magic is rooted in this methodology, all the way down to your lesser vanishing pentagram ritual, and the names of God and the angels and so on and so forth. You'll find that the vanishing pentagram has been the most converted method of mysticism, meaning everyone gets a hold of it and rewrites it. I've done it. I've done it to some success too. And we rewrite it because the concept is sound, but we don't buy into that mythology. We have our own mythology that is powering what we do, which gets into being all what inspires you. So that's the right-hand path. The left-hand path, and demonology specifically, is a more recent thing. I got my notes here on my other window. It's a more recent thing that has went through a lot of changes from when it first came about. You've got to remember, most of this comes from the Solomonic traditions, and everyone claims to have done their research and to have dug up an old manuscript which does this or that. And I don't necessarily buy into those claims, nor do I assert that they are invalid or inaccurate. I don't know. I can't back up another mystic's work in that way, nor can I say, oh yes, they certainly did or certainly didn't do anything. What I can say is that these methods tend to pull from both more modern mentality of what a demon is and how a being should be treated or worked with, a less Judaic or Christian or Jewish view, or Islamic in some cases, a view less aligned with those ideas, and therefore lacking in those trappings. And the thing is, the authors writing these new works are trying to make this approachable for all pagans. so that anyone can do the demonic evocation from their book or from their work, and then the people online likewise are trying to do this. This stems as a kind of counterculture to the old Christian mysticism that was done. Because prior to probably, I'm going to give a number, and I hate giving numbers because invariably I'm going to lie to you at this point. I'm going to say prior to about 1950, 1960, maybe a little earlier, all of your magical texts that were around mentioned or had some connection to God, as in a singular being who passes judgment and wrath and the fire and the great hoo-has and all the stuff. This concept is the opposite of paganism. This concept is the opposite of modern mysticism, and as such, most of us mystics don't work well with it. So authors of all forms are rebelling, but they aren't filling in with anything else to cover the complexity. And what the original question was about gaining a degree of complexity, because they preferred the ceremonial high magic and the complexities that were available in it, but wanted to work with demonic forces. And I can understand that. Angelic forces aren't for everyone. Within this, your left-hand path usually has a little bit more to do with sympathetic magics, and a little bit less to do with your ceremonial magics. But there are ways around this, and Aleister Crowley's work in these fields was phenomenal, though he too used a degree of the Christian symbolism, because it's what he had. It was the symbol that his mind worked in, and it takes years for that symbol to go away. I can tell you honestly, it probably took the first 5, maybe even 6 years of my practice before that symbology was replaced with my own symbology, and it has been my strong connection to the Norse gods that wiped away that symbology, so that now, when I look around, I see people wearing plus signs with a dude hanging on it, and it no longer has any impact at all for me as even being considered holy. Instead, I recognize it as somebody's really strict on math somewhere. And I mean that as a bit of a joke, but realistically the cross does nothing for me, nor does the fish or the ankh or any of those other symbols. A Helm of All or a Vegvisir definitely inspires me, though, as does a Mjolnir. So, a Volknot inspires me because I have taken the time to change the way my subconscious mind worked. But there was a time when the cross meant something to me, when it was a definitive part of how I did my mysticism. So, that's what he had to work with. But what we need to do then, looking at this, for the person asking and for those wondering, what can you do to expand your demonology methods? You want a more complex ritual set. Well, I'm going to tell you, what you need to do is buy this book. You see this book? Oh, I don't have one in my hand for that. So instead, what you need to do is start looking at where you have some correspondences that are universal, and then develop some that are specific to your practice. So what have we got? We've got numerology, first of all. Numerology is pretty awesome because you can turn any demon's name into a number. And then that number has associations and tables that you can use to draw sigils. There are planets that are aligned with that number, plus the demon's original number, so you can create other seals and symbols to go along with that. Very useful. Numerology gives you some depth that you can add into it. Herbology. Herbology is fantastic for this because through working with herbs, you can create incenses, or you can find someone you know who can custom make them. Rosequartz Labyrinth here. If you ever need a custom incense, drop me a line. We work with all kinds of incenses, and we could do a custom one very easy and very cheap. We might even, for the first batch we make, we might just charge you our cost for supplies for the batch, and we would have whatever's left over beyond the amount that you ordered for our own workings at that point. I would be more than glad to make a deal with people on that. But herbology is fantastic. it is a powerful method in working, and it adds something to it. Burning an incense made from specific herbs that are in tune with the intent and the being summoned adds a step. Planetary magic. Planets don't care who you are. Technically, they do. Technically, all of the planets, as we use them in magic, are Roman gods and goddesses, but the current culture and mentality that you're buying into, that I'm buying into, that we're all ascribing to, separates planets from other forms of magic. So planetary magic is not what it used to be. It's now something that gives you hours, days, seals and sigils, as well as Solomonic seals that go with it. So just working with Solomonic methods, you already have a vast array between planetary magic and the other resources on planetary magic out there, herbology and numerology, to add complexity to your working. But each of those planets also has number squares, and anything you're working with, you can also create another seal for in each planet. So if you were to do that, you would then have 9 seals that you could put around a 9-pointed star for this being, as well as whatever work you're doing. So that can add to your complexity too. So before we end this little quick discourse on the left-hand path methods, and really the difference between left-hand path and right-hand path is very different than these methodologies. I want to hit on that real quick, and then we're going to go into an example ritual creation. Not going to do a full ritual. Going to explain to you how you would set one up. Left-hand path is a mentality, as right-hand path is. And we like to ascribe, right-hand path methodology, a ceremonial high magic, and all of this. And to be fair, it is very much like that. But the right-hand path mentality is that there's something above you. Part of the reason a lot of these methods are simpler is because the left-hand path says there's nothing above you. You are the first god in your life. I would be a left-hand path Norse sorcerer, if you want to really take into account. I honor my gods and I work with them, but they're not above me. They are powerful and I respect them. So are the people I affiliate and associate with. If you see me working with someone, they are also powerful. I also respect them. But no one's above me. No one's above you either, unless you put them above you. And that's your choice. Hey, right-hand path method works. Putting something above you gives it power to do what you don't believe you can. It's great so that you don't have to work through the psychodrama of making this work. But it's also terrible in that it creates a huge limiter. So I wanted to get that out there. We're looking at left-hand path, right-hand path. Left-hand path, nothing is above me. Right-hand path, something is above me. But that's okay, because, I need it there at that point. So, example ritual creation. This one isn't too hard to set up. You do a calling of all 72 goetic demons to start with. What you're going to do, you're going to draw each seal. This should take you all week, by the way. And you're going to do a calling of them by creating a 72 bead mala, okay? Where you are going to chant their name 72 times and count it down on this mala, okay? To bring them into existence, okay? This is going to be a very long ritual to do. Minimum time for this is going to be 2 to 3 hours. You're going to light candles as needed at the proper places where their seals are. You're going to need a massive amount of room to do this, or you're going to need to be flipping through sheets of paper, because each one of these seals needs to be drawn precisely. You wouldn't need to draw it at the moment of the evocation, but you would need to draw the seal itself, not print it out for this, because you're looking to add to that complexity and that focus. So basically, you're making your book of spell pages, and each one of these is going to be a seal. You set your seal down, you do your 72 chants, and you light your candle for each of these demons. You may need to do this over the course of weeks and months. And what you're going to do is you're going to call them and ask them to present a link to you in a simple crystal. Okay? This crystal is a placeholder for further work, because you're not going to get this done all in one day. And realistically, I just said 3 hours, and thinking about it, maybe a month. If you're really fast, you could get it done in 2 weeks. Every one of them that you call up, you're going to ask to give their blessing on this gem, so that they may be called in the future for a service. And after you've called them, you're going to light incense for each one. You're going to light a candle of the appropriate color for each one. Bonus if you do this on the proper hour, day, and week for each one, but this is going to take a long time. When that is all said and done, you're going to do a grand ritual by reciting the names of all 72 times in a row with one candle, one thing of incense upon this crystal. And when you have brought forth all of their power, you're going to ask for them to bring to you one demon who will give you their name, which you will intone or understand. You will hear it. It will come to you, and you may have to do this as a form of free writing. You will write its name on a piece of paper prepared, and you will draw its sigil. And whatever sigil comes to you is the one that is going to represent this. Do not question what is being channeled. You're going to channel this through, draw this sigil, and you're going to detail the properties of this being. And then you can get into the evocation work of this demon, which is now your personal demonic guide. Now you can actually get to your main ritual. If you want to add to this, you may use the planetary seals and evoke the power of each planet each time you invoke one of these 72 goetic. There is a complex and time-consuming ritual. And like I said, if you do it on the proper days of the week. Now, what if you can't find days of the week for the goetic demons for whatever reason? What you could do is use numerology to get your days of the week. And with that, you'll pair their name against the number table, look up how to do it online, and take the number that's created from that, and then place it on the proper day of the week. So, I hope this gives you some ideas on how to expand your methodology. Realize that none of what you read is set in stone. If you're on the left-hand path, it's because nothing is above you. That means me too. I'm not above you. That means the author who wrote that book, he's not above you. Or she's not above you. That person who showed you how to do that ritual, not above you. So being on the left-hand path, since they're not above you, you can take their methods and work with them. Further, as some people have been quoted as saying, using the right-hand path methodology for the left-hand path is profane. Well, that doesn't mean anything to a left-hand path wizard. Calling it profane, you might as well be like, nah, naughty, bad boy. We don't care. Left-hand path means that you break the rules that you can break. Understand why they're there, and understand that the symbology may not be useful to you, but if you want to use that format for your ritual and replace every single name of every single thing called in it with one that means something to you, you're going to get as good a results as that right-hand path practitioner, but without the dogma. Because you know what? Some people just have to have that dogma to comfort them at night. So this has been a look at left-hand path, right-hand path, mysticism, and what you can do to advance your art. If you like this video, please like, share, and subscribe. If you didn't like this video, dislike it. Let us know in the comments. If this was useful, hit us up on Facebook. In any of the number of places that I'm at, you can either hit me up personally or hit me up at Knights of Awakening. I'm over at Order of the Thorn as a group. I'm also on the Rosequartz Labyrinth. When we hear that someone got something from one of these videos, it makes our day. Send a note to Knights of Awakening if this video really piqued your interest. When we see messages on that, all of the Knights of Awakening get to see those messages, and it lets our viewers know that, hey, they found something in the video that was really valuable and it helped them, and it gives us reason to do videos that we hope will reach out to others. Maybe not necessarily my videos, but maybe the other knights will then have a direction they want to go in so that they can inspire some people. So, feel free to drop us a message there. It makes our day to see anything in our inbox. I want to thank you for joining us. Yes, I thank you for joining us at the beginning. I've taken 20 minutes of your time, and I hope I've given you something back of equal value. I hope that this was an equivalent exchange. With that said, what else is there to say but awaken the night within?